Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Good afternoon and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Once again, it's with great pleasure that I welcome you to the first annual general meeting of the Standard Investment Trust Funds. My name is Abdullahi Aden, Executive Director, Islamic Investment Banking at SIB Najah, and member of the Standard Investment Bank Board of Directors. I am joined by your directors and other partners of the company, both in person and virtually. This meeting is being held virtually as per the company's articles of association. The meeting has been convened to conduct the business set out in the notice of the meeting. As a board, we recognize, respect, and undertake to protect the rights of members and investors while facilitating the effective exercise of those rights. Accordingly, while convening and conducting this meeting, the board has ensured that the actions of the company ensure equitable treatment of all investors and members. There are 134 members representing a shareholding of 27.5% registered to participate in this meeting. I therefore confirm the presence of a quorum and declare the meeting duly convened and constituted. May I first introduce to you the directors, senior management, and other professionals present in this meeting. Sitting on my immediate right, we have CPA Pauline Mwai, Executive Director, Finance, Standard Investment Bank. Next to her, we have Amina Abdul Rahman, who is our Head of Distribution and Marketing for SIB Najah. And next to Amina, we have our auditor, CPA James Njeru from Charterfy LLP. And sitting to my left, we have Mr. Nahashon Mungai, Executive Director, Global Markets, Standard Investment Bank. Next to Nahashon, we have Kevin Aricha, CEO, Kinglands Court Trustees Limited. And we have also, next to Kevin, Mr. Job Kihumba, who is also Executive Director, Corporate Finance, Standard Investment Bank. The remaining directors on our board are in attendance virtually. We also have our sign language interpreter, Ms. Elizabeth Wainaina. Thank you. I will now take this opportunity to invite the Secretary, Amina Abdul Rahman, to read the notice convening the meeting. Welcome, Amina.
Thank you so much, Chair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Dear investor, notice is hereby given that pursuant to Regulation 134 of the Capital Markets under Collective Investment Schemes Regulations 2023, the first annual general meeting of the SIB Najah MANSA-X SHARIAH Special Fund will be held virtually on Friday, 16th May 2025 at 2 p.m. to conduct the following business. The first one, notice and constitution of the meeting. To read the notice convening the meeting and adopt the agenda. To table the proxies and determine the presence of a quorum. Second agenda is introductions. Welcome and introductions of the service providers by the fund manager. Remarks by the Managing Director, Standard Investment Bank Limited. Third agenda is presentation of reports. To receive, consider, and adopt audited financial statements for the year ended 31st December 2024, together with the auditor's report thereon. To receive and consider the report by the fund manager. To receive and consider the report by the trustee. to receive and consider the report of the Sharia Advisory Board. Fourth agenda is questions and comments. To respond to questions and comments from investors on the fund performance and operations. And the fifth agenda is any other business. To transact any other business of SIB MANSA-X Shariah Special Fund, of which due notice has been received by the fund manager 48 hours prior to the AGM. By order of the trustee, thank you.
Thank you very much, Amina Abdul Rahman. As we begin the meeting, please note that you can share your questions via the question tabs on the web portal, as well as via the USSD number *483*103#, and choose the questions options. I will now like to invite CPA Pauline Mwai, Executive Director Finance, to share the financial report for 2024. Pauline, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chair. As you've heard, my name is Pauline Mwai. I'm going to take you through the financials, audited financials for the Najah FAD. There are two reports because there are two FADs. One is MANSA-X Shariah Special FAD, KES, and the other one is MANSA-X Special FAD, USD. We'll start with the KES. So for the KES, the first report will be the FAD Statement of Comprehensive Income. And just as a disclosure, these are 15 months audited accounts because the FAD started towards the tail end of 2023. So for completeness, the balances for 2023 were carried over into 2024. So we'll start with the comprehensive income report. The only income line is the investment income, which was 64,459,283. And there are two classes of expenses due to the special nature of the Sharia FAD. The first one is the financial services charge, which was 20,985,173. And the second one is the purification expense account. We'll explain this later, which comes to 186,181. Total expenses were 21,171,374. Net surplus attributable to the investors, or what was distributed to the investor statement, came to 43,287,929. We move on to the second report for the MANSA-X Shariah Special FAD, KES, which is a FAD statement of financial position. Again, this is a 15-month audited period. We start with the assets. The only class is the investment balances, which are 719,387,561. Then the second class of current assets is the cash and bank balances, which are 9,732,462, giving us a total asset of 729,120,023 shillings. Now we go to capital and liabilities, which are essentially the client fund balance, or what we call the assets under management, which is 728,933,842. Payables and accruals, which is essentially the purification account, comes to 186,181, giving us a total balance sheet of 729,120,023. We'll now move on to the last report for the MANSA-X Shariah Special FAD KES, which is essentially the unit holders' balances. As at January 2024, we didn't have anything, but the surplus or the return we earned for all the profits we earned for the investor for the year was 43,287,929. Additions during the year, this essentially means the investments into the FAD, all the inflows, came to 745 million. 58,019 shillings. Redemptions during the year, or the withdrawals that the investors requested, came to 59,412,106, giving us a total assets under management for the MANSA-X Sharia Special Fund at 728,933,842. That brings us the end of the MANSA-X Sharia Special Fund. KS. We'll now move on to the next fund under Sharia, which is the MANSA-X Sharia Special Fund, USD. As I had mentioned earlier, the Sharia funds are 15 months audited statements. We'll start with the fund statement of comprehensive income. The only income line is the investment income, which was 122,352. And the expenses are in two classes. The first one, financial services charge of 76,237, and a purification account of 389, giving us total expenses at 76,626. So net profits distributed to the investors came to 45,726. We move on to the second report. The FAD statement of financial position as at 31st December. The first asset class is the investment balances, which were 2,130,738. The second class of assets were cash and bank balances, which were 345,454, giving us a total asset of 2,476,192. We move on to capital and liabilities, which is the client fund balances. The AUM was at 2,475,803, and the payables and accruals, which as I said earlier, is the purification account of $389, giving us a total capital and liability of 2,476,192. Moving on to the last report, at the MANSA-X Sharia Special Fund USD, is the unit holder balances. We go straight to the profits distributed during the 15-month period, came to $45,726. Additions, all the inflows from our investors during the year came to 2,803,538. Redemptions during the year, all the withdrawals, came to 373,461, giving us a total of 2,475,803 as the assets under management. That brings us to the end of this presentation. I now hand over back to the chairman.
Thank you very much, Pauline Mwai, for that presentation. The full set of financials are available for your scrutiny and comment. You can access them on your portal as well as the company website at your convenience. I would like to invite CPA James Njeru from Chatterfy LLP to share the auditor's report. James, welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chair. Again, my name is Njeru Mwangi from Chatterfy LLP. We are here to take you through the auditor's report for the 15 months ended 31st December 2024. We shall be starting with the MANSA-X Sharia KS. Within our audit scope, we audited the financial statement for the period ended 31st December 2024. Again, this is for a period of 15 months. Then we also conducted in accordance with the International Standard of Auditing. Then we evaluated compliance with the IFRS and Capital Markets Act, Collective Investment Schemes Regulation of 2023, and also in compliance with the Sharia requirements. I shall read for you the audit opinion straight out of the financial statements. We have audited the accompanying financial statement for the following unit portfolio of the Standard Investment Trust Fund, MANSA-X, SHARIAH Special Fund, which are set out in the main financial statement. They are set out in page 49 to 63. These financial statements each comprise of statement of financial position as at 31st December 2024 and the statement of comprehensive income, changes in equity, cash flows for the year ended, and the notes to the financial statements, which include a summary of some of the significant accounting policies. In our opinion, the financial statement give a true and fair view of the financial position of Standard Investment Trust Fund, MANSA-X SHARIAH Special Fund, Kenya shillings, and of their respective net income and cash flows for the year ended in accordance to the International Financial Reporting Standard and requirement of the CMA Collective Investment Schemes Regulation of 2023. We confirm that the fund is in regulatory compliance with, again, with the IFRS, CMA, and the Sharia principles, and there are no reportable matters that were identified during the audit. That is the presentation and the audit opinion. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, James. I'd like to now invite Nahashon Mungai, Executive Director, Global Markets, to share the fund's manager's report as well as MANSA-X SHARIAH Fund's performance in 2024. Welcome, Nahashon.
Thank you very much, Chairman. My name is Nahashon Mungai. I'm the Executive Director for Global Markets, and I'm also the Portfolio Manager for MANSA-X SHARIAH, both the Kenya Shilling Fund and the Dollar Fund. I'm very pleased to make a presentation on the fund performance, especially, particularly for 2024, a year which was characterized by resilience and shifting dynamics. So in 2024, markets were defined by a potent mix of bullish momentum in equity markets. This means that equity markets were rising predominantly in value. We had delicate central bank maneuvers, geopolitical turmoil, and a U.S. presidential election that rekindled debates on trade and regulatory policies. This confluence of factors underscored the resilience of global markets while exposing vulnerabilities, particularly in regions outside the U.S. Once again, the U.S. equity markets had a stellar performance, buoyed by the unrelenting dominance of the so-called Magnificent Seven stocks. This refers to the large tech companies like Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, and so on, as artificial intelligence continued to dominate market narratives, driving the Dow Jones Islamic World Markets Index to a bumper 18.28% return for the year. So the Dow Jones Islamic World Markets Index is the index that tracks global companies that are listed but are approved for investment from a Sharia compliance perspective. So you have different indices in the world, and nowadays you actually have indices that are particularly aligned to Islamically oriented companies. So the Dow Jones Islamic World Markets Index last year gained 18%, and the chart you're seeing there is actually how the index performed. You can see it's up and down, but eventually closed about 18% higher than how the year started. The global Sukuk market showed relative resilience in 2024 amid a volatile macroeconomic and political landscape, outperforming broader bond markets for much of the year, driven by strong or moderate issuance and a continued preference for high-quality fixed income and tightening credit spreads and ongoing rate volatility before facing headwinds towards the end of the year as investor sentiment weakened due to the Federal Reserve's cautious stance on further rate cuts, concerns over the President-elect Trump's tariff policies, and a strengthening US dollar, which negatively impacted emerging markets. So if you look at the global Sukuk index, Sukuks are bonds that are Sharia compliant. And here at MANSA-X SHARIAH, we trade Sukuk bonds from all over the world, from African countries like Egypt, but also Middle Eastern ones like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, and so on. And the performance for most of these bonds was mixed, but because of interest rate volatilities last year, we saw a lot of them shifting in prices, as you can see on that chart. But this doesn't necessarily mean that the holdings within the fund lost any value. It only means that in between, there was a lot of trading activity. Because what happens within the MANSA-X SHARIAH funds, there is buying and selling of some of these asset classes in order to protect investors' investments. Moving forward for 2025, one of the things we always say is that you cannot predict the future, but we like to do our very best to have an opinion on how the outlook will be in order to position ourselves to make a profit for investors. So the year 2024 was one of extremes, marked by exuberance in equities, cautious optimism from policymakers, and the ever-present specter of geopolitical and economic challenges. A cautious monetary policy approach from central banks going forward led to earlier predictions of a possible market downturn in 2025. But investors, as we have happened to see this year, have largely shrugged this off as the year has started. We are having this AGM about 5 months into the year. So one of the things is that we have a benefit of just giving an idea of how 25 already is behaving. So we started a bit cautiously because we felt that the last 2 years had done very well. So we were a bit prudent in how we started the year. But it turns out that the year has actually started very well and markets have still performed very well. And within the first few weeks, it kicked off. The markets kicked off in high gear, particularly in markets beyond the US. That means the European and Asian markets started the year off very well. However, this initial optimism of deepening market breadth in developed markets was quickly brought to a halt as the Trump administration imposed tariffs as high as 25% on Canada and Mexico, who are the two largest trading partners for the US, and as high as 245% for China. Although now, again, we have the benefit of announcing that these figures have come down significantly as the Trump administration has initiated a 90-day pause to allow a renegotiation of trade policies following retaliatory action from other countries towards the U.S. So this, again, we expect should normalize and has continued now to boost stocks. So I would say for the last one and a half months, markets again have been trending on a one-way direction up, which is very good for markets. This drastic change of trade policies has amplified fragility in markets, but it has also provided appetizing opportunities for portfolio managers to squeeze good returns from short-term moves. Now, this evolving dynamics is why we remain cautiously optimistic, balancing our positioning in compelling themes with defensive and stable areas of the market across Sharia-compliant asset classes and geographies, which we believe will continue to be to benefit our investors. So moving forward for 2025, we believe that the approach which the fund takes, which is essentially being given exposure to Sharia-compliant assets from around the world, will continue to give investors in MANSA-X SHARIAH a return that is above what they would benefit from if they invested in other areas. So we'll continue to thank our investors for believing in this product, and we will continue to make sure that it's a product that gives a good return but remains in compliance with the Sharia compliance framework. Thank you very much. And back to you, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Nahashon, for that wonderful presentation. As you know, as a principal requirement for a Sharia compliant fund is to have a Sharia supervisory board. And I will now like to invite Sheikh Abdi Rahman Guhad, member of the Sharia Advisory Board of SIB Najah, who is joining us virtually to share the board statement on behalf of the chairman of the board, Dr. Sheikh Muhammad Islam. Welcome, Sheikh Abdi Rahman Guhad.
Principles and guidelines of Islamic Sharia. Our assessment covers all aspects of the fund's operation, including investment screening, financial ratios, and purification process. Based on our latest review, we are pleased to confirm that the fund remains in complete conformity with the Sharia rules and principles. As Sharia Board, we remain committed to providing continuous oversight and guidance to ensure that all activities and investment align with the ethical and spiritual objectives of the Islamic finance. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless your investment with the barakah and reward you your commitment to ethical and faith-based financial choices. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows all the best. Sincerely, Dr. Muhammad Islam, Chairman, Sharia Board, SIB Najah.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Abdurrahman, for that message. I would like to invite once again our Executive Director, Nahashon Mungai, to give us the performance report of the fund for 2024. Welcome, Nahashon.
Thank you, Chairman. So 2024 was a strong year for global Sharia compliant markets, with equities defying expectations despite high interest rates, geopolitical tensions, and political uncertainty. The artificial intelligence driven tech rally led to significant gains in the Dow Jones Islamic World Index, supported by strong performance in Japan and Taiwan. So mostly Taiwan is where a lot of these chips are made, the chips that, semiconductor chips that are used in the creation of hard drives that are required in this artificial intelligence world right now. And that's one of the reasons why Taiwan as an economy is doing well, very well, gaining over 20% last year. Commodities had standout moments, with gold surging almost 30% and cocoa gained almost 120% last year. Mostly showing how important it is that as part of a fund like this, one of the biggest benefits is actually trading also in commodities. Sukuk markets remained resilient amid shifting central bank policies and inflation dynamics. So the MANSA-X Sharia Special Fund delivered a robust net return of 12.98%, staying true to its ethical investment mandate. As we enter 2025, we remain confident in our disciplined, Sharia-compliant approach to navigating an evolving global landscape and capturing long-term opportunities. So if you look at the graphs down there, the one in the middle demonstrates to you how the fund performed quarter on quarter for the year. And you'll notice that the returns are not exactly similar. It's important to note that MANSA-X Sharia Fund operates within the market. It's not an interest rate fund. It simply participates in markets, and the profit varies from quarter to quarter. But most importantly, the reason why we really want to emphasize on that chart is to demonstrate that as an investor, if you invest for a longer period, you're more likely to share the benefits of being there for longer. Because if you're there for a short period, then you are exposed to short-term market dynamics. Again, the bottom right of the corner shows you how if you had invested about $1 million when the fund started, it would have grown to about almost 1.16 million by the end of 2024. Again, highlighting the importance of being a consistent investor. So we'd encourage our investors. We know we are a new product, and a lot of investors want to say, let me put in something and then withdraw after a few months just to see whether I'll get my money back. Let's emphasize that MANSA-X SHARIAH is domiciled within the fund manager called Standard Investment Bank. And within Standard Investment Bank, you have Standard Investment Bank Najah. All very robust entities. So the funds are very, very safe. And as an investor, you should take advantage of that and not withdraw funds on a short-term basis. In fact, what you should be doing is trying to grow your portfolio so that in the long run, you actually have a much better performing portfolio. The MANSA-X SHARIAH Special Fund, again, 2024 was a strong year for global Sharia compliant markets, with equities defying expectations. So equities did very well, and the AI tech-driven rally led to significant gains, again with a better performance in Japan and Taiwan. Commodities, as I mentioned, had standard moments, so did the Sukuk markets. So the dollar fund delivered a net return of 8.06%, and again very compliant with the ethical investment mandate. Again, if you look at those charts, you'll see the same thing because each bar there, the black bars that you're seeing there, represent a quarterly return, and they shift from quarter to quarter. Again, highlighting why, as an investor, if you invest for a longer period, you're able to come out on top rather than be in the market, say, quarter one, or say, for example, if you had invested in quarter two and then exited, you'd have missed out on the high performance in Q3 and so on and so forth. So as an investor, a long-term approach to your investments in the long run will do better for you. But again, either way, the fund remains liquid enough to pay investments as and when they're required. Thank you very much, and back to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Nahashon, for the presentation on the performance of the fund. I would like to now invite Mr. Kevin Aricha, CEO, Kinglands Court Trustees Services Limited, to share the trustees' report for the fund for 2024. Welcome, Kevin.
Right. Thank you very much, Bwana Chairman. Jambo. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, from wherever you're joining us. First and foremost, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, just to appreciate and thank you very much for making time to join us this afternoon in our first ever annual general meeting for the MANSA-X SHARIAH Special Funds. Again, thank you very much. We also like to extend our gratitude to you as investors for your continued trust and support throughout the year in terms of investing within the scheme, and we do not take that for granted. Under the new capital markets regulations, we are required to hold annual general meetings for our investors, and it is in this case that we are here today to transact the business for the year 2024. But just to confirm that this is going to be a standard engagement with us going forward, each year we'll have, as part of our calendar, a session whereby we come to you as investors to tell you, take stock of what has transpired in the previous year, get your feedback so that we can be able to better serve you and better meet your needs. In terms of the responsibility, our responsibility as a trustee, our key responsibility as a trustee is to ensure that we safeguard the assets of the scheme and also always act in your best interest as members. How do we do this? We do this by always ensuring compliance, always ensuring that we are working within what the rules of the game apply, up to and including the Sharia laws in terms of investment. We always ensure that this is what we try to strive and achieve for. And we are pleased to advise that for the full year, throughout the year 2024, we maintained compliance in terms of safeguarding all your interests as investors. As far as governance and compliance is concerned, it is always a key element where a fund, or rather an investment structure, or any organization that should always maintain compliance and clear governance structures. We are pleased to report that as well, we remained compliant with the Capital Markets Act the regulations, the Islamic and Sharia investment principles, the trust deed and rules, and also the information memorandum that sets out how we are going to transact business. And we always try our best to uphold clear and high governance standards, up to and including transparency and accountability to our investors. An important milestone in terms of managing compliance is that we also were able to comply with the new regulations that were issued in 2023 by the Capital Markets Authority, whereby, among other things, we are required to register as a special CIS. We confirmed that we made an application, and this was considered, reviewed, and approved in July 2024, and we were given an updated certificate confirming that indeed our MANSA-X Sharia special funds are now fully registered with the Capital Markets Authority. And keeping in tabs with that sense of compliance, sense of protection of members' interests, we always ensure that as part of it is to have separation of roles in terms of serving the members, serving the funds, the fund itself, so that, again, at the end of the day, we are protecting the interests of our investors. Now, maybe I can start by introducing, or rather advising, of those who serve the fund on various roles as is required by law. We first have the investment manager or the fund manager, a standard investment bank. Usually you know them as SIB. And these are responsible for investments of the funds that they receive from you. So whenever you make a contribution, these are invested, and they are the ones whose role is to define where to invest, how to invest, when to come in, when to leave, so that ultimately we get the kind of returns and profits that we have just seen being advised. The fund is structured in the form of a trust fund, and we call it the Standard Investment Trust Fund. Within the trust fund, there are other funds, that also participate. But the key essence here is we define it as a trust so that at the top of it, there is a protection of your benefits as investors. So when you set it up as a trust, there is an extra level layer in terms of protecting your investment, your assets, whenever they are made into the scheme. We are the trustee to the trust fund, and we confirm that we are independent from the investment manager. We are independent from any other party who serves the trust. And we ensure that, among other things, we clear our role, ensure compliance at all times. We are also registered and approved by the Capital Markets Authority. To safeguard your assets, we say that the assets are separate from any entity's balance sheet and assets. So much so that your benefits in the fund do not form part of the assets of the trustee, neither do they form part of the fund manager. They are held in the name of the trust fund, and that is to ensure that at all times your assets are well safeguarded. And the custodian, and whose role is to ensure that they hold the title to these assets, is I&M Bank, also registered by both Central Bank of Kenya and also the Capital Markets Authority to offer such a service in terms of safeguarding and safekeeping of the assets of the fund. An external auditor is also appointed and a requirement by law, and you just heard from our auditor, Mr. Njeru. The current external independent auditor again is Charterfy LLP, who are the auditors for the year 2024, and hopefully in subsequent years, but that shall be determined as we progress. We also, as part of governance, hold and conduct quarterly trustee meetings, whereby we receive reports, ensure that we are always compliant, decide on better ways of giving service to our members, and at the very top of it, as the tenet would be, ensure compliance with the expectation of Sharia investment. As part of this fund, we also have, as you've heard from the Sharia board, we also have an independent Sharia board that oversees our compliance in respect of the expectations of the Sharia investment structure. And in every quarterly meeting we have a representative, an Sharia advisor who sits in to ensure that any decisions that are made, they are made in compliance with what is expected of us. So we do recognize that indeed beyond the regulatory framework, the regulatory expectations, yes, there is a requirement for us to comply with the Sharia requirements and the Sharia principles of investment. And that is why there is a key commitment and even having an advisor as part of almost a day-to-day engagement with the fund manager and also with the fund. So therefore, under the keen guidance of the advisor and the advisory board, all investments and operations are done strictly within the Islamic finance principles. And this includes, of course, avoiding all prohibited sectors, rigorous screening of any investments that we're going to undertake, and where we have any income that is declared not valid, then a clean and purifying of non-compliant income is undertaken, as you saw within the financial statements. As far as growth is concerned and the investment performance, the investment managers advised we had a very, very good return in the year 2024. Given the challenges that we all would have experienced or would have seen, we were able to return a 12.98% return for the period, and that is a net return attributed to your investments. And key to that is the investment growth, where we grew all the way to about 730 million Kenya shillings in terms of assets held under management, and that is for the MANSA-X Shariah Special Kenya Shilling Fund. We were at 730 or so odd million shillings, which certainly means that we have still grown much further as at this meeting date. But that is testament to your confidence as investors, and we do not take that for granted. As far as the MANSA-X Sharia USD Fund is concerned, again, our responsibility remains the same, that we are here to protect and safeguard the interests of the members and the assets of the fund. The fund also remained compliant both in terms of the regulatory expectations of law and also of Islamic investment principles. And in terms of its performance, it also had a very good performance in the year 2024, where we had an 8% dollar net return for the year 2024. We believe it's a good start for us, and we're going to do better and better and stronger. The fund value stood at about $2.5 million. And again, we are certain that as we progress, even as at this point in time, that value has since significantly increased, cementing the expectation, or rather the impression, that we continue having confidence in the investment space that we are in. So over and above that, again, we confirm that the scheme, the fund itself, was also audited by the external auditor. The audited financial statements are available for access, as was advised by the chairperson. But more importantly, these are also filed with the regulator to ensure that not only are we compliant, but should any matter arise out of the financial statements that would be of concern, then the regulator will be available to advise and ensure that we remain compliant. Therefore, in closing, I think the full report forms part of the investor package that you received, and is also part of the audited financial statements, should you be able to access them. In conclusion, we affirm our honest commitment to protecting your investor needs and expectations, enhance your value in the best way possible, and always maintaining the highest level of compliance, the highest level of transparency, and clear governance, so that at the end of the day, you're working towards a specific goal and we're working with you. Otherwise, thank you very much, and I'll hand it back to the chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin, for that presentation. Members, as you are all aware, you have already been given an opportunity to ask questions and seek clarifications in relation to the agendas of the meeting. Having said that, we encourage you to continue sending your questions using the question tab on your dashboard, or by dialing the USSD code *483 *103# and follow the prompts to submit your questions. Please note, we shall endeavor to answer as many questions as possible. Thank you, members and investors. Before we proceed to respond to the questions, we shall proceed for a short break. Thank you very much.
My name is Job Kihumba. I'm a director at Standard Investment Bank.
My name is Nahashan Mungai. I'm the Executive Director for Global Markets here at Standard Investment Bank.
My name is Abdullahi Omar Adan, Executive Director, SIB Najah.
My name is Khalfan Abdullah. I'm Head of Product and Sharia Compliance at SIB Najah.
My name is Amin Abdurrahman, the Head of Distribution and Marketing at SIB Najah, the Islamic Division of Standard Investment Bank.
Nearly 2 decades ago, SIB applied and got a license to be an investment bank. This was an upgrade from being a stockbroker. And after trading and providing services in that capacity for a number of years, being active in trading in shares and fixed income securities, some 5 or so years ago, we applied for a new license, and we got in the global markets. That was not enough. We have ventured into other areas, including putting our efforts to create a trade finance division, which is now trading under the name of SIB. And more recently, we have actually gone into Islamic finance under the brand name SIB Najah.
In the Arabic language, Najah means success. SIB, being one of the oldest investment banks in the country, has been recording tremendous success over the years in being pioneering, and bringing innovative products into the market. So we felt the Islamic investment banking is another success SIB is providing to the market and to the Muslim community and to the ethical investors. Among our products and services at SIB Najah is our flagship product, which is a fund that is available both in Kenya shillings and US dollar. The fund is called MANSA-X SHARIAH. MANSA-X SHARIAH is a multi-asset strategy fund that invests in different Sharia-compliant asset classes in the global market.
The MANSA-X Sharia product will also just have a global perspective. So the same way MANSA-X has been very successful in creating returns for investors by investing in global financial instruments, we will do the same thing for MANSA-X Sharia product. The only difference here will be that we will be investing in products that are Sharia compliant. So if we look at equities, for example, we'll invest in companies that are compliant in terms of from a Sharia perspective. So we'll be in equities, we'll be in equity indices, exchange traded funds that are also Sharia compliant. We'll also be very keen, and have been very keen actually, on investing in Sukuk bonds. Right now, there's a very big push in Africa and the Middle East for Sukuk bonds. So we'll be participating in some of these issuances, both primary and secondary market, to give returns to our clients. Recently, we also started doing trade finance, especially within our MANSA-X product. We will also now have Sharia-compliant trade finance products for the MANSA-X Sharia product.
At SIB Najah, Sharia compliance is at the center of what we do. We identify Islamic asset classes that are available locally and globally through varieties of screenings, Sharia screening, that is applicable to a particular asset class. And once that screen proves to be okay, or there is a green light to that particular asset class, then we make a decision through the investment team to invest. But that doesn't end up there. It requires additional leg to ensure Sharia compliance, which is continuous monitoring of these asset classes. Because some of the Islamic asset classes are dynamic in nature and they need to be constantly monitored, not just on profitability, but also on its Sharia compliance status over its lifetime.
And just to be clear, you do not necessarily have to be a Muslim to invest in MANSA-X Sharia, because one of the things that's also coming out is a lot of our clients also look for ethical means by which to invest. So a lot of investors who are looking to invest in using an ethical approach can actually invest in MANSA-X Sharia. So please note that it's not restricted to Muslims only, but also to any investor who prefers an ethical-based approach to investing. Hence our tagline, which is promoting ethical investing.
Our target market is anyone looking for Islamic investment opportunities, corporate finance services, and any other wealth management services that we do offer at Standard Investment Bank. Our client base is inclusive of the retail investors, government institutions, high net worth individuals, as well as corporate institutions. At SIB Najah, we have a dedicated team of financial advisors who will work with the clients in being onboarded in the organization. We have robust digital marketing tools that we use, the website, social media pages. Once you input your details, the team will reach out to you and they'll be able to assist you in the onboarding process. We have 3 sets of accounts, personal, joint, and corporate, whereas the team will walk you through all the details that you would need to open an account and also help you finalize that until you are able to get your account open and also funded.
What sets us apart from the rest, from other investment banks, is good customer service, as well as ability to understand our investors and target market needs and address those needs efficiently. At SIB Najah, we are proud to have a very good Sharia board of young and talented and professional scholars who sits to advise our management on products and solutions that we bring on board.
I take this opportunity to welcome each and every one of you to SIB Najah. Visit our offices on the 2nd floor, JQ at Towers in Nairobi CBD. Visit our social media and websites pages. Interact with our teams, and we assure to provide you with an excellent Sharia compliant investment opportunities. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much once again. Thank you for submitting your questions. Our panelists will address some of them. The rest will be answered via text messages. We have also set up a frequently asked questions section on our website where you will find detailed responses to questions submitted on the USSD. I now go to the questions that have been submitted, and we will take them. The first question is from Isabella Wabomba. I would like to get clarification of current halal investments options. There are several halal investments options in the market. Among them, halal equities, both the local in the local stocks and also at the global markets, which SIB Najah will be able to help you invest in them and also help you maintain and hold those investments and act as your advisor to guide you which stocks or which equities, both in the local markets and also in the global markets, are halal that you can be able to invest. You also have an opportunity to invest in the sukuks, both the sovereign and corporate sukuks. Again, available both in the local and the global markets, which again, SIB Najah has a fixed income trading desk that will be able to help you with that, identifying those opportunities and be able to invest and hold on your behalf. Lastly, but not least, we have the MANSA-X Sharia funds, again, which we have gone through in this meeting. Both Kenya shillings, available in both Kenya shillings and the US dollar, which is a discretionary fund, with multi-asset strategy investment that invests in the global markets, that gives you a much wider range of investment diversification. So you also have the MANSA-X Sharia special funds as an investment, as an halal investment opportunity in the country that you can be able to invest in. The second question is from Mohammed Yusuf, and I'll invite Nahashon Mungai, our Executive Director in Global Markets, to take that question.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So Mohammed Yusuf Abdul Rasul has asked us, having deposited my funds into the Najah account, when can I start drawing the profits? And also asked us, how long does my principal amounts have to stay before I can withdraw in case of need? So we like to say that we have something called a lock-in period. The lock-in period is a minimum period that funds can remain invested in MANSA-X SHARIAH before you can access those funds. But one of the things I'd like to be very clear about is that it's not set in stone. And for those who have an emergency, what you're calling need, we actually allow you to access your funds. But the period that we are talking about, the lock-in period, is actually 6 months. So you can place your funds for 6 months before you can withdraw.
Thank you very much, Nahashon, for that. I think there's a second part on the question, Nahashon. Maybe you can go back to it. Thank you.
And in terms of how long your principal can stay, again, the same applies. It's a 6 month period. Oh, okay. There's a first part. Okay, sorry about that. I've been highlighted on the other part. So what we do, we give quarterly statements to our investors. So every 3 months you receive a statement, and at that point you can decide how much you're going to withdraw in terms of profits, and that's up to you. If, say, for example, you invested $1 million shillings, and after the quarter you have a profit of 200,000. And you decide to withdraw 50,000 or 100,000 or 200,000, that's up to you. So any amount that you withdraw is dependent on your needs. And we always advise, of course, the best thing is to have more in there so that you can continue making a lot more. But we leave it to the investor to decide how much of their profits they want to take.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nahashon. The third question is from Abdullahi Hassan Adan. And I will invite again Nahashon to take the third question as well.
So we have another question from Abdullahi Hassan Eden. I want to know the real expected percentage of each pool, whether USD or KES currencies, because that's not clear. And then secondly, he's asking, is this a risk-free investment? So I just like to alert our investors to the fact that every quarter we share a fact sheet, and this fact sheet actually gives the allocation of our top holdings. We have so many holdings within the fund, so we like to summarize them to just the top 10 ones. And if you read the fact sheet, you're able to know of the investment that you're earning, of the profits that you're making from your investment, from where did it come from. And it will show you the assets that we were holding in the book and their percentage to the portfolio. And just to be very clear, the assets that we are holding, that we demonstrate in the top 10 holdings, are not necessarily in terms of the ones that made the most money. It's just the assets that we give the most allocation to. So that allows you to know where your money is actually being invested in. And I hope that answers your question. In terms of giving the real expected percentage to each asset class, again, this is usually something that we communicate to our investors every quarter. We do a lot of reports that are much more detailed than what we presented in this AGM. And it's also something that we even do YouTube videos to even further appraise and inform our investors. Then secondly, Abdullahi Eden has asked whether this is a risk-free investment. I want to clarify that I don't actually think there is any risk-free investment in the world, and we are not different. I know a lot of people would argue a government bond is risk-free, or someone would argue maybe a sukuk is risk-free. all investments carry a certain level of risk, and that is why you need to go to a regulated fund manager like ourselves. You need to work with people we've been doing this for. SIB will actually be celebrating 30 years in existence this year. So that the only thing you can have comfort is to invest in people who have been doing this long enough and who are careful enough to protect your funds, because even from our own end, our reputation is very important, and therefore we would not want to harm your investments for whatever reason. So it doesn't make it a risk-free investment, but it makes it the best prudently managed Sharia fund in Kenya.
Thank you very much, Nahashon. I'll go to the third question, which is coming from Rosaline Aleo, and I'll invite Pauline Mwai, our Executive Director of Finance, to take that question.
Thank you, Chair. We got your question, Rosaline, and it is a pretty common question with our investors about how they can access their portfolio anytime. And the board of the fund manager, which is Standard Investment Bank, has been working tirelessly over the past few months to create an app. This app will have all the funds, including the Sharia funds, the two Sharia funds that we are presenting today in the AGM. And you can be able to track your portfolio. You'll be seeing your statement. You'll be able to do top-ups within that fund, within that app. You'll be able to also request for withdrawals and any communication that you would want to give us. And we'll be able to also respond more efficiently and effectively. So we are hopeful that by the end of Q2, which we are currently in, we'll have a live date to go into the app. So by the time we come back for the AGM next year, you will be able to tell us how robust the app was and how helpful it was for you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Pauline, for that response. I'll take another question from Shah written, and I'll invite James, our auditor, to take that question since it's a tax-related issue. James, welcome.
Thank you, Chair. And also, Shah Return, thank you for your question. And the question is, are the MANSA-X fund returns taxable, or is there withholding tax on it? Again, just to clarify that the MANSA Special Fund, Sharia, both CAS and USD, are under the umbrella of a Standard Investment Trust Fund, which has a tax exemption certificate, which has been issued under Section 20 of the Income Tax Act, of which we can confirm that any distribution to the investor, it's considered to have been tax paid, and this is in the context of a qualified return or qualified income or interest, considered to what has been considered. Otherwise, individually, depending on the entity, or you have either invested as a corporate investor or individual investor, you may also consult your tax consultant so that you can make sure that all the relevant disclosure and declarations are done for tax purposes. But we just want to re-emphasize that the return itself, the withholding tax itself, it's already deducted at source. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, James. We have some few more questions that are actually coming through as we have been talking. I'll allow, invite Nahashon to take a few of them.
Thank you very much, Chairman. One of the questions we've received from Abinur Roba Yatani, he's asking us, any consideration for cash waqf investments given your impressive yields? So just to define it, a cash waqf is an Islamic endowment where cash, rather than property or land, is donated and invested, with returns used for charitable or socially beneficial purposes. It's a Sharia-compliant financial tool that blends philanthropy with investment, sustaining long-term charitable activities while preserving capital. So the answer to you, Abdinur, is that yes, this is definitely something we can consider as we grow the fund and it's something that makes a lot of sense, especially considering that there are not a lot of Sharia compliant investments in Kenya. That's one. I think there was another question. No, it's okay. Thank you, John.
Thank you very much, Nahashan, for that, for responding to that question. Ladies and gentlemen, there being no other formal business, as we have successfully completed the business on the agenda, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the members for your distinguished presence and participation in the deliberations, and look forward to seeing you again next year for the next annual general meeting. I would like to also acknowledge the support provided by image registrars and Standard Investment Bank staff for their support in planning this virtual meeting. I hereby declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.